Check. A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. May we request you to please settle down. So, well, a very good afternoon and once again, welcome to the day one of MEWA India 2025 right here in Mumbai in the Lux venue of Geo World Convention Center. My name is Bhavna Bhatia and on behalf of NDFCI, once again, I'd like to warmly welcome you all to Lotus Ballroom 1, where all the excitement happens, where you get to meet with the leaders of various industries. Currently, we're on the Pistachio Roundtable. It's indeed my honor to introduce all our eminent panelists who are seated on stage, but just if they allow me for a couple of minutes to introduce all of them one by one. So ladies and gentlemen, this particular Pistachio Roundtable is led by none other than Sameer Bhanushali, who's the MD of Ashapura Agrocom Private Limited. Sameer is a pioneering entrepreneur in the agro-commodity sector, driving Ashapura Agrocom, India's leading importer and processor of pistachios and almonds. With nearly 2 decades of experience, he has played a pivotal role in transforming traditional agro-trade. And with his 2 ventures, which is Bazana, which drives innovation in the snacking industry, and TradeBridge, which revolutionizes the agro-ecosystem through digitalization, Mr. Bhanushali's leadership continues to shape the future of agribusiness in India. Let's warmly welcome him with a big, big round of applause and thank him for his presence. Also joining Mr. Bhanushali are our eminent panelists, starting with Mr. Brian Ezell, Senior Director Operations, Seton Pistachios of Terra. Brian has worked in the tree nut industry for over 35 years and has extensive knowledge of growing, processing, and marketing, both the pistachios and almonds. Brian has served in many committees in various tree nut organizations and was recently elected to the board of directors for the American Pistachio Growers Association. Let's give Brian a warm round of applause to welcome him as well. Joining Brian is our next panelist we have with us is Michael Homan, Executive Vice President and CFO of Wonderful Pistachios and Almonds LLC. Mike, being the Executive Vice President and CFO of the Wonderful Pistachios and Almonds, which is a wholly owned operating company of the Wonderful Company. WPANA is the world's largest grower, processor, and marketeer of pistachios and almonds. Mike began his career at WPNA in 2002 and has held multiple positions throughout the company. As the Executive Vice President, he is responsible for leading the company's strategic planning, industrial, and international sales, along with the finance function. Let's give Michael a warmer round of applause and welcome him on board. Joining him is Mr. Behman Haidaripur, who's the Director of Borna Foods Limited, UK. Behman is the co-founder of Borna Foods, a company he established with his brother Behram in 2014. Widely known as the Pistachio Guys, they started importing pistachios to UK before expanding into diverse range of premium nuts. Under his leadership, Borna Foods has secured listings with various independent retailers, and as an entrepreneur, Behram has navigated the complexities of the global nut market, overseeing business strategy. Let's give Mr. Behram a warmer round of applause as we welcome him. We also have Mr. Yasir Aydin, Vice President of Aydin Kuruyemis. Yasir, being the Vice President of Aydin, is based out of Istanbul, Turkey, one of the largest processors of almonds, walnuts, hazelnuts, and pistachios in the region. He joined the family business over 20 plus years ago and became the purchasing manager for processing equipment and later the production manager. Currently being the vice president of the company, he overlooks the growth of the same. Let's warmly welcome Mr. Yasir with a big round of applause. Also joining him is Prasoon Bhardwaj, Head Branded Staples, Reliance Retail Private Limited. Prasoon has been a retailer for over 26 plus years now and has lived through the journey of modern organized retailer in India since 1998. He's the head of branded staples business at Reliance Retail, which is the largest retailer of India with both offline and online presence. Prasoon has further led numerous partnerships between Reliance Retail and the leading dry fruits brands, marketing boards in the past years to drive the consumption of dry fruits in India. Let's warmly welcome Prasoon Bharadwaj on the stage as well. Well, after having the opportunity to introduce our August panel, it's time for me to now call upon Sameer Bhanushali to take it forward. Let's once again welcome our gentleman and our moderator to the podium.
Well, thank you, Bhavna. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for the very first commodity panel for MEWA 2025, that's pistachios. First of all, I would like to thank all the exhibitors, the sponsors, and the visitors and delegates and esteemed personalities who have blessed MEWA 2025 with their presence. And this is only our second year, and to be honest, I think we cannot believe what we've been able to achieve in the second year itself. So thank you so much. It's all because of your support and appreciation that we have been able to do what we've been able to do. I would like to say that, this is a reflection of the new India. The new India is not scared to take a leap of faith, to take bold decisions. And this is something that happened with us 2 years back, and we took the decision to start MEWA, and look where we are. And this just reflects the new India, which is going to drive the global nuts and dry fruit consumption. So talking about pistachios, right? Since we are in like cricket mode, we just had MPL yesterday, and also I think pistachios is now associated with cricket in some way or the other. I would say that pistachios in 2023 was like Shubman Gill, an upcoming star in India. Come to 2025, it's Jasprit Bumrah, it's on fire. The consumption is growing. It's becoming the next superstar of the nut and dry fruit industry in India. And in 5 years, we think it will become like a legend, Sachin Tendulkar, So for our American friends who have little context of cricket, this is the journey of a cricketer in India, from being a promising cricketer to being a legend. And I think pistachios is on that path. It's a product, it's a commodity that's loved by Indians as a snack. It's high in protein, for a highly vegetarian country like India, it's a perfect snack to get your proteins. So, without getting into the data and the trends and everything, we have such an eminent glitterati of pistachio industry here. I would really like to hand it over to the leaders who are going to take you through the journey of pistachios. Sorry, can you look at this? Yeah, sorry for the glitch. So here's the global supply. I'll just quickly run through the global supply situation. As you can see, it's an alternate bearing crop, and the crops are growing each year. And when you have larger crops, you need more markets to sell. And which other market better than India? When you look at India, India is right now number 1 or number 2 in consumption of most major dry fruits, be it almonds, cashews, walnuts. But in pistachios, we are lagging behind, and there's stiff competition from China, and if you look at the numbers, China is almost 7 times consuming more pistachios than India. We would like to change that. We would want to be the market leader. We would very soon want to overtake China and become your number 1 export market, much like almonds. Back in 2020 became the number 1 export market. India became the number 1 export market for almonds. So let's invite Mr. Mike Homan from Wonderful Pistachios, the biggest pistachio processors and producers in the world. Over to Mike.
Thank you very much. My name is Mike Homan, and I'm happy to be speaking here on behalf of Wonderful Pistachios and the California industry. And we are taking orders today to make India the #1 market, so stick around. But as you heard, California is an alternate bearing crop, or pistachios in California, an alternate bearing crop. We had a record year in 23, and then now had an off year in 24, also a record for an off year. And with that, we've also had an opportunity to have record sales. And if you look in crop year 23, on the bottom of the page is the US market, and then followed by China, which is actually the #1 market, as you heard. We are hopeful that India could reach China's potential in the near future. The next market is Europe, which has been a steady market for a number of years, but had recent growth because of an increase in consumption. The Middle East, there at the top is India, and then all the other markets. And then 24 is down because of limited supply and certainly not enough to go around. So now I want to focus a little bit on growing India. You heard from Samir, there's a great potential here. He sees it, I see it, I think we all do. And let me walk you through some of the things that we see. So in Wonderful's experience, we know pistachios are a great product. People love them, they taste great, they're healthy, high in protein, all of those things. However, you have to get that message out to the consumers. And in India, we're beginning to do that, and it's a message to consumers combined with availability of the product, and that's where we can work hand in hand. And so on here, you can see some of the billboards that Wonderful has done to communicate the protein message, and then also the fact that it's a great tasting snack and doesn't have any guilt. You can eat it, and it's healthy, and it's good for you. Here's an example of communicating the message on the streets of India, making sure that everybody sees it and it's visible in many different locations. Here's another example. It's a simple message. It's 100% taste, 0 guilt, and we're driving home the message that it's good for you, builds the muscles with that protein. Another thing we've learned in marketing is you need a combination of consistency, so you need the same message. You need to drive home that the product is from California, it's good quality, it's consistent, but at the same time needed to change up the messages a little bit. So these are some examples of the protein that I just showed you, but also a couple other examples of how to convey a similar message. Now, as we stand here today and look to the future is quite bright. California is going to have more supply, India is developing, and that's a match made in heaven. So if we look here at the crop in California, the growth is really driven by acreage. So the acreage is planted, the acreage is developing, and as the acreage develops, it's going to produce more. So on this chart, we're showing that over the next 2 years, we're going to exceed the record of 23 and exceed the record of 24 on an on and off crop. And that's really just based on the increase in acreage, as you can see here, getting up to over 500,000 acres. And we're also confident that we can grow markets. If you look at the previous 2-year cycle, it's a significant, or the current 2-year cycle we're in, it's a significant increase over the previous cycle. So we as an industry have been able to overcome the increase in supply. And if we look over the next 2-year cycles, it's between 10 and 12%. So those are manageable increases, and we're hopeful that laying the groundwork here in India will help us achieve that goal. Now, shifting gears a little bit to the basics of pistachio development. So this is the typical phenology. So in California, we measure the chill between November and the end of February, and then we have bloom, nut fill, and then ultimately harvest after that. And I'm pleased to announce that so far, chill is on track, and we've actually met the required chill. So we're anticipating a good crop next year based on those parameters. I want to touch a little bit on, we've focused a lot on snacking. However, pistachios are a great ingredient, and there's plenty of opportunity to grow. So if we talk about, high percentage of pistachios are consumed as an ingredient, and we see that as more of an opportunity as the market develops. We've seen in other markets, you start off with snacks, and then you move to ingredients after that. So there's all types of opportunities. There's culinary, there's baking, sweets, ice creams, etc. And then also lastly, as far as toppings. Okay, well, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brian Uzell, who's going to talk to you more about the California industry. Here's Brian.
Okay, so, Wonderful has always done a great job marketing wherever they're at in the world. And in conjunction with their efforts to grow the demand for pistachios in this wonderful market of India, the American Pistachio Growers Group has also been investing a lot of money in advertising pistachios and trying to grow this market, because we do see the passion and the love for pistachios pretty much with everybody we come across. India is just a thriving country, and we've all heard of all the hopes and dreams of where this is going to grow, and I think we're all very confident with that. So with that, we'll go into. So the thing about pistachios that we've really been noticing, and I know some of it's from our efforts and Wonderful's efforts, but overall it's just, some of this is just taken off on its own, is pistachios have become very trendy. If you kind of look around and see either the PR ads or the social media ads, everybody is talking about pistachios, and it's not just even in from a consumption standpoint, eating these things. You've got, different cosmetics and different lotions. We have even like purses and decorations and stuff, all kind of chasing this green image that comes with pistachios. So it's a good time to ride, because we're getting a lot of air under our wings that we didn't necessarily think we're going to keep moving forward on our own efforts. So we're very appreciative that people are really taking this message to heart and showing all kinds of ways we can use pistachios in the future. So here, as we look at what we've tried to do, is we've tried to do a lot of medical research, right? Just like every nation, India has its own concerns with diabetes and different things, and so we put a lot of money at the APG to do the research to find out what are the benefits of pistachios and what are the things that they can really do so that you don't have to rely maybe on synthetic or lab-made medications for your health. We've also created health toolkits. So basically all this research and data that we've been doing, and we created these short one-page messages and put them all in one place, and these can be go-to documents for the doctors and the health professionals out not only in the US, but here in India and any other market, so that they can have quick access to the studies that have been done and what makes pistachios very different from other nuts. We've done some of the more recent stuff. One of the things that we've really felt it was important is the studies that we want to do, whether it's weight loss, whether it's sleep, whether it's eye care, whatever it's at, is to try to get partnerships with the researchers in the country that we want to look at, right? So don't necessarily say, well, we did all these studies in America and it will apply to India or it'll apply to China. No, we want to do it within the population that we're trying to reach in that message. And because even though we're all people, our DNA is a little different, our cultural habits in terms of exercise and diet are different. So we want to gear this research specifically to the market, and we're really focused. We've already got a diabetes study done in India. We have some ongoing ones in China and Mexico. And so for us,
Good afternoon all. This is to inform you that Pistachios panel is just about to start in 2 minutes. Please proceed
A little late.
ballroom for the same.
Apologies on that. We know it's already started. Over to you.
Good afternoon all. This is to inform you that Pistachio's panel is just about to start in 2 minutes. Please proceed to the Lotus ballroom for the same. Thank you very much.
Samir, we might have to cover up on that. Over to you. Thank
Okay.
you.
We ready? Okay. So one of the things that's come a part of this, and I think Mike mentioned it a little bit, is that pistachios started out as a snack. 95% were consumed as a snack. And now we're seeing upwards of 20% are getting shipped as kernels. And we see a big opportunity in the Indian market for that as well. And it used to be kernels were a byproduct, but they've become so popular and so useful in different forms, whether flavored or as an ingredients, pastes, pistachio milk, that we're actually opening a good split-in shell that was normally consumed in snacking just so we have more kernels. And so we see that there's a big opportunity here. There's wonderful food in India, already heavy nut users, and we can see that there's a lot more California kernels that could come into this market. And then, of course, all this research we've been doing and these messages, you know, we've really tried to focus on not just with the doctors and the nutritionists and the chefs in terms of partnership focused strictly on India, but we've also tried to get into the Indian, what's popular culture here. So you can see we've utilized cricket players, we've utilized badminton players. We're doing billboards very much like what Wonderful is doing as well. And then, of course, even the TV, India's Got Talent. So we're trying to be relevant and reach out with our messaging in each of the areas that matter most to the Indian public. And so as we go forward, you know, what we want to do really is we want to continue to expand in India. We're going to be investing as much as we can in this market. We want to focus on healthy snacking, but as well as ingredients. We want to continue to promote the wonderful benefits of pistachios for your health. And then lastly, there's a lot of Indian companies that have traditionally been nut traders, now becoming processors, putting in nice plants and sophistication. From California-wise, we want to really support those efforts and help them grow their businesses and hopefully with pistachios. And with that, we'll have Bunham come up.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here at the Pistachio Roundtable. And my name is Behnam Daripur. Today I'm going to give you some insight about the Iranian pistachio industry. I'm going to give you some current situation. I'm going to talk about the challenges which we had in 2024 and also the opportunity which we're going to have in 2025. Okay, so if I want to give you some brief overview of the current situation in a short sentence, I can tell you high demand, a limited supply. So farmers and traders, they actually not releasing their pistachio on the market, and that caused a lot of supply issue, and as a result, the price has increased and also is increasing day by day. But the reason is Iranian currency is losing its value against dollar. And so the farmers, the traders, they know if they sell their pistachio, they're going to lose some money. So they hold the stock at the moment that which increase the price. However, well, I talked to a lot of farmers. They said the trees, they look nice. We had, be better to say, we are having a very nice winter, and the winter was kind to us so far. So they said the crop in terms of size should be good, but it still is too early to be happy. So I think we should wait up to March and April to see the crop size. But so far, so good. So here, I'm just going to talk about the annual production and trends. So as you probably know, let me just move this because it's just, okay. As you probably know, we had around 30,000 left over from 2023. And the crop size for 2024 was around 200,000 metric tons. So in total, we had around 230,000 metric tons, which was available. And however, around 112,000 metric tons are gone, so being consumed locally and exported. And at the moment, we have around 118,000 metric tons as a current stock level. So let's talk about that 112,000 metric tons, which actually gone. So around 10,000, which is counted as a 9% of them, consumed locally by Iranian, and 102,000 metric tons, which counted as a 91% exported. So the next slide, I actually break down the export by region. So as you can see, let me put my glass so I can see the numbers from here. So as you can see, 43% of the export went through the Far East, which is mostly China, 70% to India, and 15% to CIS countries, another 50% to re-export markets, which is Dubai or Turkey, and around, let me see, around the Middle East was around 6%, Europe 2%, and the other markets is even less than 1%. And so, okay, let's talk about the current stock level. As I mentioned, we had 180,000 metric ton left. So I used AI, artificial intelligence, to get forecasts of Iranian pistachio from Feb to September 2025. So I gave a lot of details and numbers to AI, and well, AI claimed by September 2025, we should export around 203,500 metric tons. So the gray line is the total export, and the blue line is monthly export. So by end of this month, we should export around 16,000 pounds, March 14,000 metric tons, and then the export's going to reduce gradually, and we're going to have around 7,500 metric tons by September 2025. So, okay, let's talk about the challenges we had in pistachio industry in 2024. The first one was climate impact. We had a kind of cold spring in 2024, which actually damaged the crop. The crop was, the damage was not that much, but it was around 10 to 20%. And also the other issue and challenge that we had, which was quite strange for us this year, was power and a water issue. During the summer 2024, we actually had a restriction in electricity to the farms. So that actually caused the trees got less water, so they didn't have enough water, which summer is quite important for the trees. And that actually resulted in less quantity, low quality. We actually had a very small, I mean, in terms of sizes, very small pistachio due to that issue. And trade restriction, of course, we had trade restriction for many, many years, but it's still that increasing our export cost. And we also have internal trade restriction from, better to say, from the government, which I always said that Iranian exporters are actually fighting internationally and internally. Okay, so opportunity for Iranian pistachio in 2025. Well, I do believe as we are very competitive in terms of price now, we can expand our market into China and India more. And growing presence in Russia is another actually opportunity, as Russia still has a lot of restriction, trade restriction with Western. So we actually can use this opportunity and expand our market there. EU-UK market is always, the demand is always strong for Iranian pistachio kernels and also green peel pistachio, which actually can be another opportunity. And the last one, which is value-added products. Well, I talked to many exporters before, and I always told them why you are selling raw pistachio kernels or in shell, because we can get margin 3 to 5% from selling raw material. But if we produce pistachio butter or pistachio paste, which we actually can margin around 30 to 50%. So we all know about the Dubai chocolate. The demand is very high for them, for pistachio butter. And actually, Iranian pistachio, due to unique quality and the taste that we have, is going to be a very nice and fit for pistachio butter. Okay, Yasir, thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I want to thank the committee for the invite, and I'm going to talk about the Turkish pistachios. First, I wanted to start with the Turkish pistachio new plantings. As you can see, last 10 years, the hectares has been almost doubled, surpassing 450,000 hectares. Of course, it takes longer to pistachio tree to come into production, so we are seeing the effects a little bit slow. But in the near future, we hope that we will have bigger and bigger crops. Of course, this year we had a record crop of about 400,000 metric tons. But as you know, in Turkey, most of the planting areas are non-irrigated farmlands. So we have severe effects of on and off here. So the fluctuation of the production is very high. So next year, there's an expectation of 150 to 200,000 metric tons, but of course it's too early. This also allows the growers to hold back and not to rush to sell the crop. And another point is that different than other origins, the Turkish pistachios are mostly dried with the hull. So the growers can carry them over a year or two easily without fumigation. So the growers don't really feel the pressure to come to market and sell the product. This year, of course, with the lower prices a little bit, in 4 months, we almost got the export numbers of last year. But we are hoping that with the coming season and when we know more about the next crop, the prices to stabilize a little bit more. Of course, Turkey is the biggest consumer of pistachios, I think, in the world. We use pistachios on almost every cuisine, every sweet, every dessert. And we are hoping other markets to do the same and have some inspiration of the Turkish cuisine. Dubai chocolate was one of the main reasons this year the consumption was, or demand was very high for Turkish pistachios of the very strong flavor and taste. The pistachios, this Dubai chocolate thing has 35 to 40% pistachios in it. So I think it was viral all over the world, and Turkey was the biggest, I think, also consumer of it. And next year, we are, as I said, we are hoping, we are expecting an off year, and the balance will be about 200,000 metric tons. But when the new plantations come into progress, also it will be a record off year. So we are hoping, we are expecting the crop to grow, and hoping to be able to serve the export markets as well as we do in the local market. And I'll pass the process on. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'll be talking about, from a retailer's viewpoint, how the last few years have shaped up for the pistachio industries, and I'll be sharing some interesting insights, particularly how the category has grown. We've done some deep dive into identifying to profile who is a pistachio buyer from an Indian market point of view, and also doing a drill down at a state level in India, which markets the pistachios are received in what way and what are the growth opportunities. Before I start, I'm glad seeing the presentations made by the previous panelists. A retailer thought and the grower's thought are alike. A few of the points I didn't know they have the same mindset, so I think we are on the right track there. If I talk about from a retailer point of view, when we look at the category, pistachios are number 4 ranked when it comes to the amount of nuts we sell by volume, but since these are higher priced, they take over walnuts, which is at number 3 in quantity, and by value, pistachios are number 4 with us. Most importantly, pistachios as a category has been witnessing robust growth year on year. So if I've shown last 3 calendar years year on year growth. So on an average, 50% year on year growth for same store means people in the same catchment, a store which existed 5 years ago is seeing a 50% year on year volume growth. And that speaks about the way the product is being received and the way Indians are consuming more pistachios there. Something as a retailer, I would want to credit the APG, American Pistachio Growers Group, for the lot of marketing activity that they've done in the past few years in terms of building awareness, educating consumers. I think that has fueled this growth, so credit to them. Also, as a retailer, I'm very happy that the wonderful Pistachio Group is also now speeding up their marketing activities in the Indian market. So I am very glad, and we all in the nuts fraternity in India should see that maybe next year we might be presenting 100% year-on-year growth. One word that comes to my mind, and most of my fellow Indians who are in this room would agree, we are familiar of something called double engine. So with both the 2 large bodies working in the Indian market, the double engine force led by both APG and wonderful pistachios, I'm sure the Indian pistachio market is set for a revolution there. Just one small stat on shares, and I'm glad to see that Turkey is also maturing, and we have a pipeline coming to service the growing Indian demand. Right now, from an organized retail point of view, about 80 to 90% pistachio sales is from the US origin pistachios, the rest coming from Iran. And very importantly, 98% of the pistachios that we sell, again, most of the data I refer to is from organized retail, is the in-shell salted pistachios. And I'll refer to the point where in the growth opportunities, the ingredient part is where we are common on this. Now, very interesting profiling we did on the data of people who buy nuts and dry fruits in India. So we created a profile of an almond buyer and compared that with the pistachio buyer in the store. And look, some interesting numbers for you. So when we compare, the first thing which comes out is the pistachio buyer is actually a more evolved dry fruit consumer. If we see the variety of nuts and dry fruits that a pistachio buyer is buying is much higher compared to an almond buyer. We have a 10:7. Just note the word full makhana there. Full makhana is a gray product. How do we classify that? But that's the 11th product, and full makhana as a product is high on snacking. So that also shows an evolution there. So what's coming out is the pistachio buyer is one who's more evolved. They are buying a wider range. And if you look at the split of the products, the snacking component is much higher. So while the basics remain same in terms of almond, pistachio, raisins, and dates, things like mixed dry fruits, things like seeds, things like walnuts, the incidence of a pistachio consumer buying these products is much higher. So that's one broad thing which is coming out, and that makes me to make a statement that this is something which is a prominent thing. And of course, if you look at the basket of a pistachio consumer, snacking dominates. So many of the dry fruits item which we see, or we see the known non-core nuts and dry fruits which are meant for snacking there. If you look at the rest of the basket for the products, one thing which is common across both is both have a high incidence of buying categories of noodles and blended spices. But when we look at things like cookies, pistachio buyers are buying a lot of cookies, and they are also buying categories which are relevant to snacking, while the almond buyer is buying some of the core household needs. So we see tea, we are seeing more of the dishwash and stuff like that. So to sum up, a pistachio buyer is younger, perhaps unmarried or married with no kids. That's where the basket contains less of the home utility item, is more for personal thing, and convenience foods are high on that. While the almond buyer is having family as a priority along with the health as a quotient. So I try to personify these and given some Indian names. So again, with some kind of a relevant imagery. So a pistachio buyer maybe is a Sandra, and a almond buyer is a Geeta. And again, coming from different backgrounds and different priorities in life, but health definitely is the common thing amongst both of them. Now moving on to opportunities. So here is the here's the heat map of how. So last year for us, pistachios have grown by almost 50%, 49%, but when we divide at a state level, the growth ranges from 17% to 99%. So that means there is a clear opportunity in terms of growth between one state or the other. If we also look at the amount of pistachio a pistachio buyer is buying, that varies. So on an average, a pistachio buyer is buying about 370 grams or so, but that varies from 280 grams to 425 grams. The interesting thing is when we compare both these heat maps, there is a clear opportunity for us when we market. So there is a state where the quantity consumed is high, but the number of people buying pistachios is less. So maybe we can look at this data and identify markets where the next level of marketing campaign should be done. The thought is to, one, make more people start buying pistachios. They'll buy small quantities, and the ones which are more evolved are actually consuming more. So how do we consume more? My last slide. So one opportunity is, as we see again data on organized retail, if 100 people are buying nuts and dry fruits, only 10 are buying pistachios. So there is still that 90% of dry fruit buyer who's yet to get into this. That's the lower hanging fruit. Then of course, as the market evolves, more and more people get into buying these categories. The changing consumer preferences with the awareness-led campaigns on health and snacking benefits, I think is going to continue to drive growth. And again, lot of activities done till now have been focused on the metro and tier 1 cities. So when we look at the entire country of India, I think when we start marketing in those things, and that's where the double engine efforts I think would yield. So there are perhaps many states and markets who've not witnessed the campaign that we've been doing in markets. And the last thing, consumption on the ingredient front. So one, unsalted in-shell is an opportunity, and then a lot of indirect consumption. In India, we make a lot of sweets at home, and adding a pistachio there will definitely add a lot of things. We add almonds, raisin, and cashews, but pistachio can be the fourth one, and that would be a delight. So good days ahead for pistachios in India. That's what I can see as a retailer. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Prasunji. Thank you all the eminent personalities here who explained to us about the pistachio industry. We heard the grower side and we also heard the consumption side. We have a very important announcement to make before we go to the question-answer session. We have with us Padma Shri Dr. V. Mohan, Chairman of Madras Diabetes Research Foundation with us. He has just conducted a 3 years research. He's just conducted a 3 years research on pistachios and blood sugar management. Results will be released at a press conference at 3:30 p.m. today in room number 204 downstairs. It's technically 10 minutes from now. Thank you, sir, for your presence. So I have a few questions for the panelists. I'll begin with Mike. So Mike, in my opening address, I just spoke about how China is consuming so much more pistachios than India. And when India has been a leader with most nut consumption, why do you think India is lagging behind? And what do you think worked in China and has not worked in India?
Thank you. If I look at the successes of China, many key customers in China invested in the category. And with that investment of the category, they're able to either concentrate in a region or serve the entire country. And that way collectively they can serve the entire country of China. So I think the opportunity in India is to invest in capacity in order to reach double, triple, quadruple the growth here. You're going to need to invest in capacity to accommodate the incoming crop. And with that investment, you have your choice of either a national model or a regional model to cover all of India. And if you put those two things together, I think India can certainly surpass China.
Do you see that happening now? Now that in the last 3 to 5 years, do you see a lot of processing being organized, and do you see brands investing in trying to do what you saw in China?
Yes, India is definitely off to a great start, but the volume is not there yet, and the capacity is not there yet. So there needs to be investments in the future, and I'm confident there will be.
Thank you so much, Mike. Brian, I have a question for you. Do you think the ongoing trade war between USA and China can put pistachio in the crosshairs? If yes, how does California industry plan to tackle the same? And is India a natural hedge against the current geopolitical risks?
Well, I think, first of all, nobody likes tariffs. Only people that end up losing is on the consumer side. What will happen under this new administration in terms of, are they going to do additional tariffs that cause some counter tariffs and affect our ability to get our products into China? I don't think we really know. I think we know so far is there has been some retaliatory tariffs, but none have hit the pistachios yet, so I think that's encouraging. As we look at other countries like India, again, I think the tariffs that are in place here now are fair. Of course, as an importer, we'd love to have zero, like some of the other producing countries. But we sincerely hope that there's no tariffs coming from the U.S. that causes a similar situation where there's retaliatory tariffs, because we really feel like we have a really great thing going in India right now in terms of we have not just the consumer, but we have manufacturers, buyers, everybody is kind of rowing the same way to build this industry, which has tremendous potential, and I agree with Mike, has every bit of the potential to meet or exceed what China has done in the past. So, yeah, I wish I had a crystal ball on that, but we don't know really what's going to happen. But I can tell you, as an industry, like with APG, and I know Wonderful has its own efforts, but really anybody in ag in California is talking with their congressmen and representatives, trying to help the White House know that some of their decisions have a very big impact on the very people that voted that regime into office. And so we have to continue to be advocates, not just for our product in the market, but in the political side of things.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, sorry, I have one more question for Mike. Mike, we are seeing a lot of disruption in agriculture in California with water issues and with weather issues. We have seen that those issues are limiting other tree nut crops like almonds. Do you see those challenges in pistachios as well going forward? That weather and water can disrupt the upside potential of pistachios in California?
Yes, definitely. Pistachios are affected by both weather and access to water like other crops. For those of us that are from California, we know that water is the limiting factor on agriculture. And as the groundwater regulations become more implemented, that's going to have an effect. And likely some areas where pistachios are currently grown, the water resources are going to be reduced, and some of that acreage may not survive. It may be planted in other locations. We don't know, but it's certainly something we're always concerned about.
Noted. Thank you. I have a question for Behram. So lately we have seen a major shift in consumer preferences in India from Iranian to Californian pistachios. A few years back, I think 5 to 10 years back, it used to be Iran, which was a preferred pistachio nut in India, but I think it's losing its share to American pistachios now. What do you think is the reason, and how do you think Iran plans to tackle it?
Well, let's clarify why they got more market share than us recently. Well, not recently, probably from 2023. Well, their crop in 2022 to 2023 was huge. They could offer a very competitive price than us, and they had a huge availability as well. And India is a price-sensitive market. Of course, when someone offers you cheaper than the others, you're going to consider this. And they also running a lot of marketing campaigns around India. They did invest a lot in marketing, which actually help, or better to say, educate a consumer about the health benefits of pistachio, which increase the consumption of pistachio in India. For the first and second factor, which is price, at the moment we can offer, in terms of price, we can offer more competitive price than them. And also in terms of availability, as I mentioned, we had around 180,000 metric ton in stock, which I do believe we can ship enough to India. In regards to the marketing, so to be honest, we are not good in marketing, as American they are, and probably this should come from Iranian authorities, Iranian government, rather than exporter. But I do believe the marketing which they are actually doing help Iranian pistachio as well, because it's help increasing of consumption of pistachio in India, which will help us.
Thank you. My next question is to Mr. Yasir. As per the recent data coming out of Turkey, the pistachio crop is growing at a rapid pace, almost doubling in size in the last few years. But we don't see that translate into exports. Is the domestic production robust enough to consume most of its pistachio growth? Or do you see a supply glut happening soon and that would result in exports in future?
Yes. As I said in my presentation, the Turkish pistachios are mostly grown in non-irrigated farmland. So as you look at the numbers, the difference between an on-year and an off-year is very significant. So the growers have this habit of holding on the product on an on-year to have the product on an off-year. So with the new plantings, next year also we're going to have a decent crop. We are expecting a decent crop. So we expect this habit of growers to change and actually deliver their products to the market every year. So in the future, we are hoping or expecting to have more consistent and sustainable supply.
Thank you so much. My last question to Mr. Prasun.
Yeah.
Prasunji, India is a very price-sensitive market, as we all know. Could that be the reason why almonds are consumed more than pistachios today? And do you think if the pistachio prices were lower on the shelves, it can sell almost as much as almonds or maybe more?
Well, the perception is India is price sensitive, but as long as people try the product, and health is something which if you get habituated, you don't look at price. So we've seen, say, cashew prices shooting through the roof, and there was one stage when the price of cashew and price of pistachios were almost same, but we didn't see much decline in cashew buying from the people. And even with the pistachios, it's like if people don't try, so from a retail point of view, the smaller price point is the answer to the higher price. So once people start buying, I think it will fall into their shopping list.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the comments. So do we have time for audience Q&A?
Sameer, we can maybe entertain one because it's 3:33.
Okay, I would like to make one more announcement here. We have with us the ambassador of Chile, Mr. Juan Angulo, with us, and we would like to honor him as a guest of honor for our session. Also, Dr. Mohan wants to make a comment.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
Bhavna.
yeah. I know. Is that for a question, sir?
I'm Dr. Mohan, and I'll be presenting the results of the pistachio results down in the press conference shortly. We've also done work on cashew and almonds. Now we're working on peanuts, almost all the nuts we work. The comment I wanted, and they're fantastic. I mean, the results are also fantastic, no doubt about it. The comment I wanted to make was that with all nuts and with pistachio, because I saw that thing about salted versus unsalted, the benefits that you get out of any nuts, you lose when you add salt to it, because then you're going to increase the blood pressure. So there's no point in decreasing the glucose or decreasing the weight and then increasing the blood pressure. So while the market, people might want the salted one, and they can have both varieties, but try to encourage the unsalted ones, because every nut, including pistachio, tastes as great without the salt. So we don't really need the salt, and the benefits, health benefits will definitely go up if you cut the salt. So I just thought I'll group a lot of nut people are here. I thought I'll make that health message. Thank you very much.
If I may say, thank you so much for that nutty comment, because we're going to try and get the unsalted version out. But ladies and gentlemen, allow me an opportunity to thank all of them with a big, big round of applause. Sure. And as Mr. Bhanushali rightly said, that we are honored to have with us two of our dignitaries who've joined us. Mr. Bhanushali, we just request you to please step forward, allow us an opportunity to please felicitate two of our chief guests who've joined us. We have with us Juan Angulo, who's the ambassador of Chile. Let's give him a warm, warm round of applause as we welcome him on the stage, and let's give him a warmer round of applause as we felicitate him in the hands of Mr. Sameer Bhanushali. Ladies and gentlemen, a bigger round of applause for Mr. Angulo. Mr. Angulo, we just request you if you can keep the flowers down and join us back, because we'd want you to felicitate further. But for the time being, if I could have our next chief guest, Behrouz Aga to please join us. Let's give him a warm round of applause. He's the president of the Iranian Pistachio Association, ambassador of INC Iran. Let's give him a warmer round of applause as we welcome him. Mr. Sameer Bhanushali in frame with Behrouz Aga. Thank you, Mr. Aga. May we request you to please join us on the stage. If you can just keep your bouquet down and join us back. Sameer, thank you so much. And now if I may request Mr. Angelo and Mr. Aga to please step forward, both of our chief guests.